A BetterHelp ad. Louis Capaldi partnered with BetterHelp to get word out about how important therapy can be.
Or I struggle most weeks to get myself up and ready and go to therapy or whatever. Even to open the laptop to talk to my therapist sometimes can be really difficult. But I do it because I realise how important it is for me to continue to feel good. Because I felt the best I've felt in a long time through therapy.
Learn more about online therapy at betterhelp.com.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports. We're going to be diving in with him about everything that we are seeing in this American League playoff race. We're going to be chatting with him about how the Seattle Mariners have been able to get so hot, what it meant that they were able to take down the Astros in a sweep last week as well, and just the entirety of this landscape of baseball as it is very, very murky, and he's going to give us a little bit more clarity in the final segment. Going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Saturday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, LRCM, name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline, and the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, everything is powered by EdgeBoost. EdgeBoost is making sure that bettors are able to have access to their funds whenever and wherever. With EdgeBoost, 100% of gambling transactions do get approved, and when you go to EdgeBoost.bet, put in that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That'll get you a dollar for dollar match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Friday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
We are on to the top under team in all of baseball as we are on to Cincinnati as they now have the tiebreaker over the New York Mets for the final wildcard spot. They take down the Brewers 3-1 the final, and by the way, for the Reds, 91 unders, 59 overs, and 10 pushes, and they completely hold down the Brewers here with Zach Littell coming up big, 1 run allowed in 4 2/3 innings. From there, Graham Ashcraft, Tony Santana, Emilio Pagan, all into scoreless inning. Connor Phillips, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Not a ton of offense here for the Reds, but they go 4 of 9 with men in scoring position as they get to Quinn Priester for 3 runs and 9 hits and 5 innings out of him. From there, Nick Mears, 8 scoreless inning. Tobias Myers, 3 innings of no-hit baseball, but too little too late there. And with the New York Mets, they just keep fumbling and bumbling. They give up a 6 spot in the 5th inning, and they fall to the Miami Marlins. This by a count of 6-2 as Brandon Sproat, he gives up 4 runs in 4 2/3 innings, and then Gregory Soto, he pooped the bed again. Shock, shock, surprise, surprise. This podcast has been trying to alert you that Gregory Soto is not good. 2 runs allowed in 1 1/3 innings, giving up home run to Connor Norby, 8th home run of the season. From there, Oscar Bazobin, Kevin Harrigan, they both led a scoreless inning, and Sandy Alcantara did give up a first inning home run to Francisco Lindor, leadoff home run, 31st of the campaign, but he'd settle in from there, gives up 2 runs in 7 innings. Cade Gibson, along with Tyler Phillips, they combine for 2 scoreless innings to be able to polish that one off. And for the Detroit Tigers, man, it has been a big fall for them. They had an opportunity with the Cleveland Guardians losing on Friday as well in that American League Central to be able to retake that lead. They are unable to do so as they fall to the Boston Red Sox, who now clinch a playoff berth, this by a count of 4-3, as the Tigers had the 3-2 lead in this game, and then the bullpen upchucked it as Casey Mize, relatively solid start, 2 runs allowed in 6 1/3 innings. Kyle Finnegan allows a run in 1 2/3 innings. Tommy Kahnle, why they trusted in him in the 4th inning, I have no idea, but he gives up a game-winning triple to Ceddanne Rafael at 1/3 of an inning, gives up that run, and for the Boston Red Sox, they got not a lot of length out of Kyle Harrison, 3 runs allowed in 3 innings, but how about this from the bullpen? You had Stephen Matz, Zach Kelly, Garrett Woodlock, Aroldis Chapman, all lend a scoreless inning. Greg Weiser at 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Justin Slayton, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. 6 combined scoreless innings out of that bullpen. And for the Guardians, they remain atop of the AL Central despite the fact that they fall to the Walker Texas Rangers by a count of 7-3 as Jack Leiter lighters it up. 10 punch outs, gives up 2 runs over the course of 7 innings. He did give up a home run as it was Kyle Manzardo getting his 27th home run season, but Slade Cecconi got lit up himself. 4 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings. Going deep for the Texas Rangers, it was home run number 2 of the season for don't call his name, Alejandro Osuna. From there for Cleveland, you did have Jacob Junis give up 2 runs in a 1/3 of an inning. Matt Festa, not a fiesta, he gives up a run in an inning. Zach Kent, 2 1/3 innings scoreless, and Eric Sabrowski, he gets 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Meanwhile, for the old Walker Texas Rangers, bullpen was was able to do their part, as you had Phil Matone give up a run in an inning, but Sean Armstrong, he supplies the scoreless inning, so the Rangers find a way to be able to get that one to the window. And for the Houston Astros, they might be on the outside looking in with regards to the playoffs. They fall to the LA Angels by a count of 4-3, and they got up 3-0 in this game. I mean, Jason Alexander, I'm not going to say it was a great start, but it wasn't terrible. 2 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings, gives up a home run to Mike Trout, 24th home run season. Then it was Mr. Brian King who gives one up to Trout, 25th home run season, as King was the king of losing this game, giving up that home run in 2/3 of an inning of work. You had Stephen Okert give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, Brian DeRayu also a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Jaden Murray, he was in for 4 outs, he gives up a run. Christian Walker does go deep off the professor. Kyle Hendricks, 25th home run season. Hendricks gives up 3 runs, 2 of which weren't in 5 innings, but a Angels bullpen that is pretty terrible. They come up big. Brock and Rolberg, Kenley Jansen, Chase Silseth, and Jose Fermin. They're all able to turn a scoreless inning, and for the Atlanta Braves, they were unable to turn scoreless innings. 9-3, the Pittsburgh Pirates take down the Atlanta Braves. Mitch Keller not long for this game. 5 walks allowed in 3 2/3 innings, but he only gives up 1 run, and that 1 run was a solo home run to Mr. Matt Olson, 29th home run season. Michael Harris as well, 20th home run season. He gets that off of Mike Burrows. Burrows in for a solo home run allowed in 2 innings of work. Yuto Mets with Yohan Ramirez, and out of the bullpen scoreless. Kyle Nicholas, Dennis Santana lend a scoreless inning. Isaac Madsen gives up a run in his inning of work, but trio bombs here for the Pittsburgh Pirates, as you had Spencer Horwitz get home runs number 10 and 11 of the campaign, and Tommy Pham, well, Pham was able to get his 10th home run season off of Joey Wentz, who was wentzing in pain, giving up 4 runs in 4 innings. From there, Hunter Stratton, a scoreless inning. The Doddfather, Dylan Dodd, 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Yoel Payamps gives up one of those home runs to Horwitz over the course of his 1 2/3 innings of work. The other one given up by Pierce Johnson, who has been pretty reliable all season long, but gives up 4 runs over the course of an inning of work, so that was less than savory. And for the Cardinals, this was very much less than savory. They fall to the Chicago Cubs by a count of 12-1, as the Cubs put up a touchdown in the 7th inning with the extra point. They must have been inspired by Caleb Williams getting the people free hot dogs, as Miles Michaelis, 4 runs allowed in 5 innings. He gave up 3 home runs. And then Grayson Garacifo, he got 1 out of the bullpen. He gave up 5 runs, all of which were earned, no home runs. John King was the king of giving you a scoreless inning, but Chris Roycroft, 1 2/3 innings. He gives up 3 runs, all of which were earned, including one of those home runs for Mr. Roycroft. He gave his up to Seiya Suzuki, 30th home run season. Pico Armstrong off of Michaelis, 30th home run season. The Michaelis gives up a pair to Nico Horner, 7th home run season, and Michael Busch, 32nd home run in the campaign, as Colin Reyes at Hit Pit Parade to a great start. 5 2/3 innings, scoreless with 7 strikeouts. Caleb Theobar gives up a run in a 1/3 of an inning. Andrew Kittredge, Daniel Palencia, Brad Keller from there are all able to end a scoreless inning. The Toronto Blue Jays are now your second best over team in all of baseball. They've been playing some unders recently. They played an under against the Rays on Friday, but got the job done by a count of 4-2. Adrian Ocom, Doogie Howser pitched a little bit more like Doogie Howser. 4 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, including a home run to Nathan Lukes, his 12th home run season. Shane Bieber had a fever for giving up solo home runs. 2 solo home runs allowed in 5 innings. Jonathan Aranda, his 13th home run season. Junior Caminero, his 45th. And for Cole Sulzer, 2 innings out of the bullpen scoreless for the Rays. And the Blue Jays bullpen did their part. Tommy Nance, Brandon Little come up big for a combined scoreless inning. Jeff Hoffman a scoreless inning, and Mason Fluharty was able to give you 2 scoreless innings as well. For the Orioles, Trevor Rogers gave up more than 3 runs in a start for the first time all season. Yankees get to him for an 8-4 win, as for Rogers, 6 runs allowed in 3 innings. He had given up 3 home runs all season long, gave up 3 home runs on this night. Giancarlo Stanton, home runs 22 and 23 of the campaign. Aaron Judge is 52nd, and Will Warren, he gave up a pair of bombs himself. 4 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, as Tyler O'Neill gets his 9th home run season. Jordan Westberg at 16th, but Yankees bullpen from there went to work. Mark Leiter Jr., pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Tim Hill, Camilo Udval, David Bednar, they do not poop the Bednar, all give you a scoreless inning, and Fernando Cruz, and out of the bullpen scoreless. Meanwhile, for Baltimore, Yunier Cano, don't you know, he gave up 2 runs in his inning work. Colin Selby was able to give you 2 scoreless innings along Joey Castillo, but too little too late, as this was Rogers' worst start of the season. And for the Washington Nationals, Cade Cavalli did not have it in this one. The Nationals lose to the Chicago White Sox by a count of 10-9, as Yandres Gomez was not great himself. How about 5 runs allowed in 6 innings, including 4 home runs. Jordan leisurely gives up 4 runs in 2/3 of an inning. He gave up a pair of bombs as well. Brandon Iser, Grant Taylor both on the scoreless inning, and Fraser Allard and out of the bullpen scoreless. Meanwhile, for Cade Cavalli, gives up a home run to Lennon Sosa, 22nd home run season, and Colson Montgomery, the difference maker off of Jose Ferrer, 20th home run season. Ferrer Ferrer gives up 2 runs in his inning of work. Cavalli gives up 6 runs, but only 2 of which were earned, given up in his 4 innings of work, as there were 3 errors, actually 4 errors out there in the field, because 1 was on Ferrer, but 3 errors that really went against Cade Cavalli. From there, Orlando Revolta, he gets a out of the bullpen. He gives up 2 runs. Shinkuski, Ogasara, 2 scoreless innings. Samarin Lau and PJ Poulin combined for 5 outs of the bullpen scoreless. And for the Nationals, they lose this game despite getting 3 home runs from Luis Garcia. 14th, 15th, and 16th home run season. CJ Abrams, his 19th home run season, just his 4th at home. Dale Lyles, 8th home run season. Josh Bell's 22nd, and the Washington Nationals still come up small. The Minnesota Twins certainly came up small. They fall to the Philadelphia Phillies, this by a count of 3-1, as Joe Ryan, not a bad start here, 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, does allow a home run. As for the Phillies, it was Umando Sosa getting his 11th home run season. And how about Aaron Nola being super? He gave up a solo home run over the course of 8 innings of work, as Christian Vasquez, of all guys, who's hitting below the middle sign 200, his third home run the campaign. But you had Yohan Duran be able to get a scoreless inning for the save against his former team. Michael Tonkin, a scoreless inning, but Travis Adams gives up a run in 1 1/3 innings. Genesis Cabrera, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, but the Phillies, they find a way to persevere and get the job done, and so do the LA Dodgers. The Dodgers, they take it to the Seattle Mariners, this by a count of 3-2. We'll certainly talk a little bit more about the Mariners on the flip side with Curtis Rogers. Did that interview before this game, as he does the pre- and post-game hosting for the Seattle Mariners, and I have to have this up by midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, and it turned out to be a surprise bullpen game for the LA Dodgers, as Emmett Sheehan gives up an unearned run in his inning of work. From there, Justin Robelski, 2 scoreless innings. Will Klein, Anthony Bandit combined for 3 scoreless innings. Roki Sasaki, Tanner Scott, both give you a scoreless inning. Blake Tryon gives up a run in an inning, but the piecemeal game works as Kike Hernandez gets his 10th home run season off of George Kirby, who punched out 10, gave up 2 runs in 5 innings, including that home run. Edward Bizarro gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning, but Luke Jackson, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Gabe Spire, Casey Lugumina, they both lend a scoreless inning, but for the Seattle Mariners, they strand 12 men on base, and they go 1 of 13 with men in scoring position. That's a really nice way to lose a game, and this is a nice way to lose a game just by being awful. That's exactly what the Colorado Rockies were on Friday, as they fall to the San Francisco Giants by a count of 3-2, as Germán Marquez gives up 6 runs in 4 1/3 innings, including a pair of bombs, as Willie Adames, 29th home run season, and Eloy Ramos, his 21st home run of the campaign. From there, the Rockies bullpen was pretty solid. Jaden Hill, 5 outs of the bullpen scoreless. Juan Mejia, Jimmy Harrigan, they both lend a scoreless inning. Currently doing this as the Giants have 1 more out to get in the 9th inning, as how about Old McDonald coming up with a great start. Trevor McDonald, 10 punch-outs, allowed 3 runs over the course of 7 innings to give up a home run to Ezekiel Tovar, 9th home run of the campaign. From there, Yoel Piguero, a scoreless inning, and Ryan Walker currently has a pair of outs out of the bullpen for this Giants team. That should be 3 by the time that this podcast uploads. And for the Slam Diego Padres, they are right now slamming the Arizona Diamondbacks 6-4, and that's going to be going into the 9th inning. As for Arizona, they did get a pair in the 8th inning, so as of the time of this podcast, it looks like the Padres should be able to get the job done, and that would pretty much put the Arizona Diamondbacks playoff hopes into the, shall we say, incinerator. As for you, Darvish, he did allow a pair of home runs in this one. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, 27th home run season. Jake McCarthy is 4th for Darvish, gives up those 2 home runs in 5 innings of work. Kyle Hart did give up a pair of runs in 1/3 of an inning out of the bullpen, but as of right now, you've got Wandy Peralta along with Brad Glee Rodriguez, both lending a scoreless inning. David Morgan, and out of the bullpen scoreless, despite the fact that he gave up 3 walks, and currently Mason Miller on to hold down the fort end. You'd have Fernando Tatis Jr. be able to get a grand slam off of Zach Gallen, 24th home run season. Gallen saved for this start instead of pitching on Thursday, and it backfired. 6 runs, 5 of which were earned, give it up in 4 1/8 innings for Philip Abner. Pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Juan Murillo, Andres Helfrich, they were all able to end a scoreless inning, and Ryan Thompson came in to hold down the fort as well, but not great to say the least there. And for the Athletics, they walk it off against the Kansas City Royals. 4-3 the final, as for the Kansas City Royals, Noah Cameron gives up 3 runs in 4 2/3 innings, including 4 walks. From there, the bullpen was solid. You'd have Lou Inder Avila give up the game-winning double to Shea Langolaris. Shea bangs the game winner. He gave up that run in 1/3 of an inning, but Anil Zerpa, Taylor Clark, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Jonathan Bolin, a scoreless inning, and Jonathan India goes deep off of Mason Barnett, 9th home run season. Barnett gives up 3 runs in 5 2/3 innings, but Hogan Ayers was more like Hogan Hero, 2 scoreless innings, and Justin Sterner, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. And if you're looking at trend-wise what we're getting in baseball right now, it has overall been an underwhelming season in terms of the totals, and very much has been over the last 7 days. Right now, 47 unders to 39 overs, with it being a case where the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Giants games should both go over. So that'll make it 41 overs and 47 unders, but that's still nearly 54% with regards to hit rate to the under. That said, you take a look at these money line favorites, and they're having a pretty miserable time. Right now, 49 and 43 on the money line over the last 7 days, so right around about 53.5% over the last 30 days. Just 210 and 178 on the money line for favorites. That's hardly above 54%. The over rate over the last 30 days, 184 overs to 196 unders, so just below 48.5% there. And if you look at the entirety of the baseball season, favorites hitting at about 56.5%, 1,331 and 1,025 on the money line. Meanwhile, the over rate just a hair below 51%, 1,113 overs, 1,166 unders. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now. That's what we're all getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we talk about the Seattle Mariners, the playoff race in general, and so much more with Curtis Rogers of 710 Seattle Sports right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beats and Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Curtis Rogers aboard. He does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports. Take a look at this great game that we all know and love, baseball. He has been locked in on the Mariners all season long as their pre- and post-game host. On top of that, he's doing some great work with the Seattle Seahawks. He's getting set for some hockey as well with the Seattle Kraken. A man that just does a little bit of everything. He does so also well over at 710 Seattle Sports. Follow him on the old Twitter/X along with Instagram at @AKidFromKent. And Curtis, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
Greg, always happy to hop on with you. And it has been quite a September across Major League Baseball, especially here in Seattle. And then also gearing up for October baseball here. The mornings and nights are a little crisper. So that means fall is here, and nothing better than some playoff baseball, which Seattle's going to see for the second time in nearly a quarter century. So everybody is geeked out. Everybody is hyped up out here. It's a lot of fun, and everybody's just ready to go, ready to get to the postseason, because that's the best time of year in Major League Baseball.
Well, one of my favorite phrases is good, clean family fun. That comes from the movie Dodgeball. And, well, it wasn't necessarily for the family. It was fun when they were showing it in Dodgeball. But this, in this case, is actual good, clean family fun with what the Seattle Mariners have provided this year. And just how big was that series last weekend against the Astros? They go on the road, they sweep the Astros, and they completely embarrass them on Sunday Night Baseball, because that had been the hurdle that had always just eluded the Seattle Mariners. I feel like being able to win that series exercised a ton of demons for this team, both in the short term and the long term.
You're absolutely right. In the days following that series, I kind of looked at it as like a son beating his dad at one-on-one for the first time. It felt like little brother had finally risen up the courage to take down big brother. Like, that is how much it meant. And the players will try to downplay it, obviously, because they still have a lot of goals still to accomplish here in this season. But I think that clubhouse, what they were able to do in Houston, just has given them a confidence that they can go out and beat anybody at any time, which is something that I think the team had struggled with, obviously, in years past. But I think even at portions of this season, I mean, before this previous road trip where they took 5 of 6 from Kansas City and Houston, they had struggled a lot on the road, especially in the season's second half. They had only won one road series since the All-Star break, and they took 2 of 3 from Atlanta to finish out that road trip. So it was not like the Mariners on the road were, these world beaters. No, they were struggling mightily heading into that previous road trip. But taking 5 of 6 from the Royals and Astros has given them a confidence that I have not seen them play with in a long time. As of this, I mean, they've won 17 of 18. It was funny because looking back, 2.5 weeks ago, the Mariners were sitting at 73 and 68, and people were like, I don't even know if they're going to get to 90 wins. And little did we know that over the next 2.5 weeks, they would only lose one time. So this Mariners team right now peaking at the exact right time you want to be heading into the playoffs now. Once the playoffs start, everybody resets at 0-0. So what you have done to get to the playoffs maybe doesn't necessarily mean as much once everybody is kind of on even ground. But the Mariners are a team right now, Greg, that I think a lot of teams, when they look at potential division series matchups, they're a team that I don't think a lot of people want to face, considering how good they have been as of late.
And I think of consideration as well, and I feel like you know this as well as I do. I cannot remember a more open playoff picture than we've got in the American League this year, where it felt like the one foregone conclusion that we had in the American League was, oh, the Tigers are going to win the AL Central. And as we're recording this, they're not in the lead in the AL Central right now after they had a 15.5 game lead over the Guardians. The New York Yankees have been all over the place, especially with that bullpen. I just alluded to it with the Astros. Right now, the Astros are on the outside looking in as we record this for the playoffs as well. How big do you think that is, too, where it just might be the Mariners' year because nobody else seems to want this American League, and the Mariners were the team that sold out at the deadline to try to be able to make this run?
I don't think the Mariners should apologize at all for everybody else's shortcomings in the American League. And you're right. You look at the other teams that are in there with them in the American League, no one else really pushed all their chips in. The Mariners were definitely the most aggressive team at the deadline, coming up with their corner infielders in Josh Naylor and Gino Suarez. And Naylor has been a tremendous addition. Gino, it's taken some time to get his bat going, but he's on the verge of 50 home runs this season. He needs just one more in the season's final weekend. But yeah, I look at the rest of the American League right now, Greg, and I know Toronto has been the steadiest team for sure, really, since about the month of May. They have played a very, nonchalant way of winning that division in the AL East. I know the Yankees have been at their best. I think the Yankees are the best team in the American League, but we haven't seen them really at their best in a while. Remains to be seen if they can get back to that kind of play here in October. And you mentioned the Tigers. It's funny because last year they got off to such a slow start and then got red hot in the second half, made the playoffs, made it all the way to the AL Division Series. And then this year they continued that, got red hot to start the season, and then cooled off. They have had one of the weirdest sandwiches ever. The bread is disgusting, but the inside is incredible. It's weird because that middle portion where it's the end of last year and the start of this season, I think they were playing at like 120 win pace or something ridiculous like that. Outside of that, they have been just absolutely terrible. 15.5 games. That would be the biggest division lead ever blown in Major League history. And it's looking like it's more than likely to happen. I think Cleveland right now is playing some really inspired ball. And it's funny because Cleveland is an interesting story in their own right, losing two pitchers to potential game fixing over the course of the summer.
And traded Shane Bieber.
Yeah, exactly. They traded Shane Bieber, and one of those pitchers happens to be their all-star closer in Emmanuel Clase. So insane right now what the American League has going on. The Mariners and Blue Jays seem like the teams that are the most put together. But even as I just said, 2.5 weeks ago, no one could say that about the Mariners at this point. But right now, if it's anything else, any possibility is really up for grabs in the American League. But I just feel like Toronto, with how good they have been for as long as they've been, they're the team I think I have the least amount of doubt about. But yeah, you can make a case for pretty much any team. I think Houston they're pretty much done for. They don't have the tiebreak over Cleveland or Detroit right now. So really, they're 2 back with 3 to go. They basically have to win out and hope that one of Cleveland or Houston loses out in order to leapfrog them. They're kind of in a winner or go home scenario right now. So the American League playoff picture, Greg, good luck picking that, because whatever you pick, you probably have a good shot at it, but also whatever you pick could also blow up in your face and make you look like a fool.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, man, this American League playoff picture is so weird. And I mean, not to be a homer for you right now, but I feel best about the Seattle Mariners out of all these teams because they have been able to get so hot. But I mean, the next hottest team in all of baseball, along with the Seattle Mariners, I feel like it's a 1A, 1B. You just mentioned them with the Cleveland Guardians. How do you look at them going into the postseason? Because with the Guardians, it's a team that I just can't see being able to make a run, but we've already seen the Guardians time and time again. They're sort of like that villain that you see in a slasher movie where you think that they are completely dead. You think that you have killed them 5 times over, but all of a sudden the bad guy is now moving faster, walking while you are sprinting away from them. That is exactly what this Cleveland Guardians team is because they have no offense to speak of. You mentioned all the pitchers that they lose, and somehow, some way, they've got some of the best pitching in all baseball right now.
It makes no sense, and yet here we are. And it feels like Cleveland goes on these runs every now and then. I remember this time a few years ago, they won, 22 in a row to finish off their season. 2016 comes to mind, just how good they were that year, getting all the way to the World Series. This is a team that, from whether it be Terry Francona in the dugout or now Stephen Vogt, it's just been kind of a really interesting way that they kind of turn it on at the end of the season. And it's a credit to that clubhouse for always having the belief. It's a credit to Jose Ramirez, who is definitely the vocal leader of that team, keeps everybody loose. There's always some tremendous stories about his presence in that Cleveland clubhouse. Stephen Kwan, obviously is just an absolute nuisance to any opposing pitcher trying to get him out. So this Cleveland team right now, Greg, you mentioned it, where it's kind of like, yeah, they're hot, but how are they doing it? That's a dangerous place to be in for any opponent, because it's like, I don't want to be the team facing them. And you look at the Mariners right now, if the season were to end right now at this very moment, they would be facing the winner of Detroit or Cleveland in the wild card round. In one instance, you've got Cleveland, who is just as hot as the Mariners are. In the other, you've got the potential of facing Tarek Skubal twice in a 5-game series, depending on how things shake out. Now, Detroit may need Skubal in that wild card round. In fact, they'll definitely need him in that wild card round. They may even need him to finish off this regular season here. But you don't want to face Tarek Skubal twice in any sort of 5-game series. The interesting thing about that, though, the Mariners are 2-0 against Tarek Skubal this season. They're the only team to hand him multiple losses this year, which is insane because he's only had 2 starts against him. So a weird spot to be in for the Mariners in terms of potential division series opponents. But obviously getting that bye, that's going to be huge for them to kind of get their legs underneath them. And also Brian Wu, get him healthy before the start of the division series. He's dealing with a pec injury he suffered in that Houston series. He hasn't pitched since then. So that'll be of the utmost importance. But yeah, Greg, hard to really pinpoint what it is about them that is making them go like this. But I think a lot of teams look at that and say, I don't want to deal with the craziness that could be Cleveland this time of year.
Yep, absolutely. And we have found out what the weaknesses of Tarek Skubal, because you talked about getting your legs under you. Have him hike the ball between his legs. That's the way that you slow down Tarek Skubal, apparently. So that was some good fun there, as well as we do have Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports, joining me on the Baseball Betting Show. And we have fleshed out this American League playoff picture so much. How do you take a look at the National League side of things? Because I do think that there's a chance that the Seattle Mariners make their first World Series in, I don't know if they've ever made it. If they have made it, it's been an eon. But in the National League side of things, we talk about how wide open it is in the American League. And if the Dodgers are fully healthy, I think that they still have to be the team to beat. But again, that's a big giant mess where the Mets need to win some games here against the Miami Marlins to be able to make the postseason. The Cincinnati Reds and the Arizona Diamondbacks somehow, somewhere, are playing some meaningful baseball this weekend. I have no idea how they are. The Brewers have the best record in all of baseball, but I'm not necessarily sold on them. And then the Chicago Cubs all of a sudden are playing a little bit better, but they've been all sorts of suspect. And the Philadelphia Phillies are dealing with a bunch of injuries as well.
It's just as chaotic in the National League side of things. I think the Dodgers, just based off the experience, are the team that I would have the most confidence in the playoffs, but they're going to have to play in the wild card round, which is just another sort of interesting wrinkle into what this season could be for them. And you look at the teams that are in the wild card in the National League, the Cubs and the Padres. The Cubs and Padres would end up having to play each other. The Dodgers would probably have to play either the Mets or the Reds, maybe even the Diamondbacks. Who knows how this weekend's going to work out. But again, it's not like the Mets are devoid of talent. They've got Juan Soto. They've got Francisco Lindor. Without getting the contributions from Kodai Senga in the second half of the season, I think that's really taken a big blow to what the Mets have been able to do. He has not been the same pitcher since coming off the IL. In fact, they optioned him to AAA at one point because his ERA was around 6 after getting off to such a great start this season. They were relying heavily on him. But I just look at the National League right now. I think the Dodgers can make their way through the wild card round. Then you've got them potentially going up in a series against probably the Phillies, depending on who advances out of the other National League wild card round. Dodgers Phillies in the division series, that feels like an NLCS to me. So I feel like the winner of a Dodgers Phillies division series probably will be battle tested enough to make it through the National League. You mentioned the Phillies and their rash of injuries. Obviously, no Zach Wheeler the rest of the way. That's going to be a big impact on what they're trying to do. But all in all, I think the Phillies right now, Greg, to me, and I think I said this a few weeks ago, they just feel like the team right now that just has the least amount to worry about in terms of making it to the postseason. So maybe that'll help them. I know Nick Castellanos has been kind of vocal about his role as of late, kind of voicing his displeasure in the Philadelphia media. But what else is new in Philadelphia? That's just kind of how things go over there. It should be an interesting National League postseason for sure. And look, the Brewers are the Brewers. I mean, 96 wins, that's no joke. You're not going to get to 100 wins, but that is a lot of wins this season, and they've just been red hot throughout the season second half. I wouldn't want to face them. And, Jacob Mizorowski looks like he's making his way back. Who knows if he's going to be starting, if he's going to come out of the bullpen. Either way, I think he should be pretty valuable to that Milwaukee team. Look, it's good to have guys out of your bullpen that can go multiple innings in the postseason, because starters, they just simply don't go that long in the postseason. You see guys go 4 or 5 innings. Good to have a guy who can go multiple innings for you and really stretch things out. You don't have to rely so much on your middle relief.
Yep, absolutely. And man, it is a wild playoff picture. And Curtis, you're going to be able to cover it all because the Seattle Mariners, they are going to be in the postseason. The only question is at this point the seeding, but you're going to be taking part in October baseball. And along the way, you're going to be doing some great work looking at the Seattle Seahawks. I know you're getting set for hockey. You're getting set for college basketball. You just do it all out there in the Pacific Northwest. Let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you, and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, it only ramps up from here. We have got a lot to get to this week in terms of preparation for the ALDS. Friday of next week should be a new episode of Extra Innings dropping, sort of a playoff preview. We'll find out who the Mariners play in the division series over the course of the next week, but should be an interesting one. Obviously, tons of Mariners coverage up here, seattlesports.com, the Seattle Sports YouTube page. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @KidFromKent. And Greg, always happy to hop on with you, talk some baseball, especially this time of year, and especially get to experience it firsthand for the second time in my professional career. So thanks for having me on, and look forward to our conversations as always.
I was about to say, first, the second time for you, really, ever since you became a teenager as well, because, man, it had been a long time for the Seattle Mariners, so it's good to see that the Mariners have been able to ascend. Curtis does a second-to-none job of taking a look at this great game of baseball, and every single time he joins me, he lends such great insight. So a big thanks to Curtis for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. They give you picks and analysis out of the game on the betting board for this Baseball Saturday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Curtis Rogers. He does such an incredible job over at 710 Seattle Sports, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So big thanks to Curtis for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Saturday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81, and we're going to be going in Las Vegas tradition order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, then the Inter-League games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So let's get things started with 901, 902 on the betting board. It is the St. Louis Cardinals on the road against the Chicago Cubs. Jamison Dion is on the bump for the Cubs. Michael McGreevy goes for the Cardinals. Most places have this total off the board because it is a Wrigley Field game, but I'm seeing one initial opener of a 9 over at -120, under at even with the Cubs. There are between -170 to -176 favorites, between +142 to +150 is a number on the Cardinals, and right now that initial run line between +125 to +130 on the Cubs, and as long as I can get a +130 or better, I will be in on that Cubs run line. We'll see when we get more numbers up once we get the official totals, but that said, with Jamison Dion, even though I do think that he's doing for a little bit of regression, he has been much better recently. He had a rough start to the season where he was giving up deep ball after deep ball. That's reflected in the fact that overall for the season, he's allowing 1.7 home runs per 9 innings. Doesn't hurt himself with only 1.8 walks allowed per 9 innings, but I mean, since the beginning of the month of August, he has made 5 starts and he has given up a combined 5 runs. So he has been able to do a rock solid job there. Now, albeit he has gotten 4 strikeouts or fewer in every one of those 5 starts, but he's facing off against a Cardinals team that is right there at the bottom of the National League in terms of run creation ever since the All-Star break. Wilson Contreras has really been the top hitter for the team thus far this season, and now he lands on the injured list, so that's their main form of power right there. Lars Zupar has made a move the line. He's up to about a 325 on base, but just have so many young guys who have not developed for this team. Nathan Church, Jordan Walker, Victor Scott, Nolan Gorman, all these guys hitting at 220 or lower. Alec Burleson has moved the line, 345 on base with 15 plus home runs. You've been able to get a little bit out of Thomas Segezi in terms of getting on base with hitting about a 260, but I mean, it's been a loss here for Nolan Arenado. And then for the Chicago Cubs, Moises Ballesteros, ever since he's come up to the big league level, has been very rock solid. He's been able to give you darn near a 4-arm base, and that's been big because for the Cubs, you've got Kyle Tucker on the injured list. Pico Armstrong has been all over the place, so he got a home run yesterday. That'll help him out. Seiya Suzuki, he went deep yesterday as well, so both of these guys now up to 30 home runs, and they should have Tucker back for the rest of this series as well, so that helps them out quite a bit. So the Cubs all of a sudden are starting to get right with their offense, an offense that has been in the bottom 10 of the big leagues ever since the All-Star break. But I mean, Michael Busch has been able to give you some deep balls recently. He's up over 30 plus home runs, 340 on base. Nico Horner since the All-Star break hitting about a 325, and this has been a Cubs bullpen that has been very rock solid. You've got the likes of Daniel Palencia just came off the injury list, Brad Keller, Caleb Thielbar, Andrew Kittredge, all these guys, they're able to supply you with a 3.40 ERA or better, throw in their Drew Pomeranz as well. And then for the Cardinals, this has been a very solid bullpen, and because they were getting lambasted yesterday, the likes of Kyle Leahy, Jojo Romero, Matt Savanson will all have a sub 3.25 ERA. They did not go into the game yesterday, Riley O'Brien as well, so that'll be able to help them out a little bit. And for Michael McGreevy, he does a nice job in terms of keeping things out in front of him. He's not allowing a lot of walks, as he's only been giving up 1.8 walks per 9 innings, 1 home run per 9, but he's got a 4.35 ERA because he's not getting any swing and miss. He's only getting about 5.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and that's not going to help him on this day, and that's not going to help out our good friend and Mr. James Taillon either, because the wind should be blowing out here in this game. Right now I'm seeing about 5 or so mile per hour winds, so it's not like it's completely gusting, but it is going to be blowing out a little bit to help out these hitters. So I did set my total 9.3 at a 9. I'm in on the over, and with the Cubs plus 130 or better, I like that run line. 903, 904 on the card. It is the Rockies. They are on the road against the San Francisco Giants. Justin Verlander, and perhaps his last start ever, going to be going for the Giants, and Kyle Freeland goes for Colorado. Colorado, a pretty sizable underdog, between plus 193 to plus $2. Minus 240 is that number on San Francisco. If you're looking to lay a run half, that's minus 110. And total on this game, it is 8 over and under, anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. And I was willing to go up to a minus 148 on the Giants on the run line. I know that Justin Verlander has only won 3 games this far this season, but he has pitched much better than that. And if this is indeed Verlander's last start ever, we will see if it is or if it is not. You know that he's not going to be going out with a whimper. He's actually pitched well this year as well. 0-1 runs allowed in 4 of his last 5 starts. Still getting 8 strikeouts at 3 walks per 9 innings with 0.9 home runs per 9 innings. And he gets face off against Colorado Rockies team that's averaging 2.85 runs per game away from home. That is dead last in all of baseball. Hunter Goodman has done a rock-solid job of providing offense for the Rockies. 30-plus home runs with either 17 or 18 of them coming away from home, hitting above a 250 away from home. But outside of Hunter Goodman, just all these guys take a big, giant nosedive in terms of their numbers away from home. Mickey Moniak, along with the likes of Ezekiel Tovar, Jordan Beck, Brenton Doyle, Kyle Karros. You go down the list of guys right now that when they are away from home, they are hitting well below at 225. Moniak has been a little bit better recently, but Justin Verlander should be able to knife through them. And for Verlander, he's still backed up by a Giants bullpen that does rank in the top 6 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, albeit they're not quite the same as they were towards the beginning part of the season with Randy Rodriguez out of the fold and having the likes of Jose Buto, Matt Gage supplying north of a 4 ERA over the last 30 or so days. But Joey Lucchesi has been solid. He and Yoel Piguero have been able to give you a sub 335 ERA. And this is a lineup for the Giants that the catcher spot has been a little bit of an albatross. There's no question about it. You could use a little bit more of Drew Gilbert, but Willie Adames, even with his bad batting average, has 28 home runs. Matt Chapman, over 20 bombs. He's not hitting for a ton of average, but about a 340 on base. Casey Schmidt has been able to give you quite a bit more recently as well. He's been able to give you over a 320 on base, double-figure amount of homers. And Rafael Devers, ever since he got to San Francisco, it's been a little bit volatile, but overall for the season, 34 home runs between his time with San Francisco and the Boston Red Sox. And over the last 30 days, 9 bombs and a 360 on base. So I do think that they should be able to get to a guy in Kyle Freeland, that overall for the season has a 5 ERA, has 16 losses, lead all of baseball. And when he's on the road for Kyle Freeland, he does give up quite a bit of the deep ball. The ERA actually falls a little bit on the road to more like a 4.35, 4.40, but he gives up 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. He's getting fewer than 7 strikeouts per 9, albeit he's not hurting himself. 2.1 walks allowed per 9 innings, but I do think that the Giants get to him relatively good, and I just don't think that the Rockies do their part with regards to the total, as you've got a Rockies bullpen that they might try to light this game on fire and push it over, because you've got so many guys that are posting up an ERA above a 5. It's not even funny. Like, so Nick Anderson, Anthony Molina, Anel Shavili, these guys have been absolutely awful. You do have, though, a pair of guys, Jimmy Harrigan, Victor Vodnik, who've been able to spy a sub 350 ERA, so did sub my total at 7.9. I do like the Giants on the run line, and I do like this 8 under. 905, 906 on the betting board. It is the New York Mets. They are on the road. They're facing up against the Miami Marlins. We do know that EVERY Perez is going to be on the bump for Miami. Right now, it is old to be determined who's going to be on the bump for the New York Mets. So as I'm doing this podcast, this game is presently off the board. The projections were that Sean Manaea is going to be going for the Mets. Manea's been utilized a little bit out of the bullpen with the Mets. They are trying to cobble things together in order to be able to get to the playoffs. So I do think that you're going to see some sort of Manaea in this game. I don't know whether he's going to be the starter or not, as Manaea last pitched on the 24th. He pitched like 1 inning of relief, and they've had him pitched 3 innings or fewer in each out of his last 2 appearances. So I think that this is going to be a mix and match game for the Mets, and as a result, I set the Mets at a minus 107 on the money line. I'm willing to lay up to a minus 106 with them, plus 108 or higher looking at the Marlins, and then set a total where an 8 or less looking at the over, 8.5 or higher the under. And you could also see some Clay Holmes as well, because Manaea has just been absolutely miserable recently, and I mean, for Manaea, he's actually been able to give you over 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. The swing and miss stuff has been really good for him this far this season, but he's giving up 2 home runs per 9 innings, and then you've got like the opposite with the other starter that they took out of the rotation, and Clay Holmes, who he's been coming out of the bullpen as well. I think that you could see like a piggyback with Holmes, Sean Manaea, maybe you throw out there someone else for a few innings. So, I mean, it's going to be very mix and match in this game, like with Clay Holmes, 3.66 ERA, 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings, but he's only getting 7.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. So, I do think that you got the sort of gobble up there, and for the Mets, ever since the trade deadline, they've been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Reed Garrett has seen his ERA go to nearly a 4, along with Oscar Brazobin. Ryan Helsley has been a little bit better recently, but man, since he got to New York, this guy has been a train wreck. Edwin Diaz has been solid, and so has Brooks Raley, but I mean, you're going to be relying upon a lot of pieces here for the Mets, whether Holmes starts, whether you get Sean Manaea, or like I said, I'm thinking maybe you get like a piggyback situation. And for EVERY Perez, I recognize if you look at the season numbers, they're not necessarily, shall we say, wowing you. 4.20 ERA. He's been posting up about 9.5 strikeouts to 2.9 walks per 9 innings, closer to 371 fielding dependent. Comes in having allowed a combined 3 earned runs over the course of his last 3 starts, but it's been a completely different pitcher when he's been at home. 2.63 home ERA with 0 home runs allowed in 37 2/3 innings. He's giving up 2 home runs per 9 innings with a 5.33 ERA away from home. And for the Marlins, this is a bottom 3 team in the National League in terms of run creation when they're at home. Miami's just one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks that you're going to find in all baseball, and they are dealing with the injury to Kyle Sowers. That is their main home run hitter. So right now you've got Augustin Ramirez as the only guy on the roster that's giving you 15 plus home runs. He's up to 21 bombs. Only give you about a 390 on base, but plenty of guys that are hitting between, we're going to call it about a 248 to a 260. Joey Weimer, Griffin Conine, Liam Hicks, Otto Lopez. These are guys that are doing a solid job finding a way on. Eric Wagaman as well, though he's been dealing with a little bit of injury. They're going to be without Dave Myers in this game, but Jacob Marcy has been able to do a rock solid job. He's been able to hit darn near 300. You've been having Xavier Edwards do a nice job at the leadoff spot, hitting for about a 340 on base. And Troy Johnson, as a little bit of a young guy, he's been able to move the line as well. For the Mets, the offense has honestly not been the problem. Got a quartet of guys at the top that hit for at least 25 home runs, all in at least at 264. Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, along with Pete Alonso, and Alonso's up to about a 345 on base with 37 bombs. Soto, nearly a 4 on base, 43 home runs. Brett Beatty's been much better as well. He and Cedric Mullins, along with Mark Vientos, all between 16 to 18 home runs. Beatty is hitting for about a 255. Vientos and Mullins have not really been able to hit for a lot of average, but when Francisco Alvarez has been out there, he's been pretty solid as well. And when it comes to this Miami Marlins team, they did suffer a little bit of a loss in the bullpen with Anthony Bender being out the fold, but you do have quite a few mix and match guys that have been relatively solid. Tyler Phillips, Cade Gibson, Ronnie Enriquez, these guys have been able to give you sub 350 right now. Mike McCarr, George Soriano, man, that has been a little bit rough for them. But that said, I do think that with the Miami Marlins, they're going to put up a nice fight here against what should be a relatively piecemeal game for the Mets. 8 or less, on the over, 8.5 or higher, the under with the Marlins. Plus 108 or better, looking at them. Minus 106 or better, looking at the Metropolitans. 907, 908 on the card. It's the Cincinnati Reds, and yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're on to the road, facing off against the Milwaukee Brewers. We know that Andrew Abbott is going to be the starter for the Reds. Right now, the projections are saying that Jacob Mizorowski, the Miz kid, is going to be going for the Brewers, and this is a game that is totally off the board as a result. And if you do indeed get Jacob Mizorowski, I did set the Brewers at a minus 132 on the money line. I'd be willing to lay up to a minus 131 there, plus 133 or better, looking at the Reds. And then an 8.5 or less, I'm in on the over, 9 or higher to the under. If it's not Mizorowski and it's like a bullpen game for the Brewers, honestly, I probably wouldn't change my numbers too much because Jacob Mizorowski has just been that bad, and I don't think even if you do get Jacob Mizorowski starting in this game that he's going to be delivering a lot of length. Like, if it's Jacob Mizorowski, I think he probably is like an opener plus, maybe pitches 3-4 innings because, you take a look at him ever since he's come off the injury list, and he's given up at least 3 runs in 5 out of his last 7 starts, and the only reason why he didn't give up more than 3 runs at his last start is that he was pulled after 3 2/3 innings. Like, overall for the season, Mizorowski, 12 strikeouts per 9 innings, 4.38 ERA, but he's given up the 4 walks per 9 innings, has been all sorts of shaky, and last time he faced off against the Cincinnati Reds, he didn't even make it out of the second inning. The team had to come back from down 7 runs. I remember that one very, very well, and when it comes to Andrew Abbott, he is doing for a little bit of regression as well. Abbott has had himself a very, very nice season. He's posting up a 2.80 ERA, fielding dependent though, is more around a 3.65. The swing and miss stuff is solid, but it's not amazing. 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1 home run, 2.5 walks per 9 innings, so he's been able to do a pretty rock solid job in terms of not beating himself. But you take a look at what Andrew Abbott has been able to do when he's been away from Cincinnati this season. It's gone to more like a 3.31 ERA, and he gives up closer to about 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, and that's a face-off against the Milwaukee Brewers team that is right there at the top of the National League in terms of run creation ever since the All-Star break with about 5.4 runs per contest. This despite the fact that they don't necessarily have a whole bunch of hoppers in the lineup. The only guy that has been able to give you over 20 home runs this season is Christian Yelich, 29 bombs entering into the weekend, and for the Brewers, it's just all about moving the line, getting on base. Yelich, William Contreras, Bryce Terang, Sal Frelick, Isaac Collins, all these guys have been able to give you at least a 344 on base. Andrew Vaughn in a Brewers uniform and a Brewers uniform only, 380 on base. They get back Reese Hoskins, who's been able to give you about a 330 on base. If it weren't for injury, he'd be up over 20 home runs, most likely. Andrew Marisario is moving the line, and for the Brewers, this is a bullpen that is very rock solid. So let's say that Mizorowski can't go very far, or if they just have a bullpen game in general where maybe like Eric Fetty Wap is giving you like 3 or so innings, you still have a lot of guys like Aaron Ashby, Abner Uribe, Jared Kading, who have been able to give you sub 3 ERA. They get back Ryan Anderson, who's been able to give you about a 3.20 ERA. Still dealing with the injury to Trevor McGill, but all in all, these guys have been pretty rock solid. And for the Cincinnati Reds, there's just a lot about this team that is meh. Like, they're not terrible, but they're not really great in any facet. You take a look at this bullpen, and you've had Tony Satin and Emilio Pagan both be able to supply a sub-3 ERA, but Pagan gives up a lot of hard contact, was bailed out by Noel V. Marte a few days ago on a home run that would have tied up the game against the Pittsburgh Pirates. So there's always that aspect of things. And then Graham Ashcraft, Scott Barlow, Zachary Maxwell, these are guys giving you north of a 4 ERA. And for the Reds, they are starting to get a little bit more power. Ellie De La Cruz and Spencer Steer both had 21 home runs apiece. De La Cruz, obviously, a little bit of a do-it-all guy, 36 on base, 340 on base, but in terms of overall power, it's not great, but you do have a lot of guys in that neighborhood about a 259 to 270 with Marte, who I mentioned, TJ Friedel, Gavin Lux, Austin the Say's kid, all right there. Miguel Andujar, since they picked him up, he's been hitting a 356. They should probably be utilizing him a little bit more, but that said, with the Reds, I'd be willing to take a plus 133 or higher with them against Mizorowski, or even like a bullpen game, something of that nature, minus 131 or better, looking at the Crew, and then an 8.5 or less, I like the over, a 9 or higher, the under. 909, 910 on the card. It's the Pittsburgh Pirates on the road against the Atlanta Braves, as Spencer Strider goes for the Bravos, and Bubba Chandler goes for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is an underdog of anywhere between plus 134 to a plus 150, and between minus 158 to a minus 172, that number on Atlanta. Total on this game, it is 8.5. The under is between minus 110 to a minus 120. The over is between even and minus 110. If you're looking to lay run half right now with Atlanta, you're finding that at a plus 142. I was willing to take a plus 120 or better, but Bubba Chandler has actually very much impressed me for the Pittsburgh Pirates. With Mr. Bubba Chandler, he's not necessarily like a super strikeout artist at this point, but he's doing a nice job inducing some soft contact. He's been able to get about 8.8 strikeouts and 1.4 walks per 9 innings in a small sample size of 25 and 2/3 innings, and the only reason why his ERA is 4.56 is he had just one disaster against the Brewers where he gave up 9 runs in 2 2/3 innings. You take that out of the fold, he's won a combined 23 innings with 4 runs outside of that appearance, so he's been very good since he's been called up to the big league level. And for Spencer Strider, this has been a no good, very bad, terrible year for him. That goes without saying, but you know what? When it comes to Spencer Strider, feels like he's starting to find his mojo once again. 3 earned runs of fear allowed in each out of his last 5 starts. Walks continue to be an issue. 2+ walks allowed in each out of his last 5 starts for the season. 3.7 walks, 1.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings to go with his 4.45 ERA, but does feel like he's getting a few more whiffs, and I mean, this is a nice confidence booster to end the season. You get to go up against the Pittsburgh Pirates team that is dead last in the big leagues in terms of run creation with about 3.6 runs per contest. Only 3 guys on the roster have 10+ home runs this season: Andrew McCutchen, Oneil Cruz, Brian Reynolds, and with Cruz, he's right now barely hitting above a 200, and he's just full of a cavalcade of different guys hitting below 220. He, Nick Yorkie, Lovar Piguero, Henry Davis, Jack Swiniski, Cam Devaney, man. I mean, you just don't have a lot there. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, they probably won't throw out their Bubba Chandler for too long. I think that they're wanting to protect him. They'll probably piggyback him with some of these long guys. They did use up Carmen Molodzinski a few days ago, but only for 2 innings. He's been giving you a 3.55 ERA. Torrey Moretta has been solid as he, Isaac Madsen, Dennis Santana. I'll give you a sub 3.30 ERA out of that bullpen, but then you've got the likes of Evan Sisk. You don't mess with a Yohan Ramirez, who has very much been getting messed with. Colin Olderman. A lot of guys. They're posting up above a 4.50 ERA. And for the Atlanta Braves, overall for the season, the bullpen has been a little bit of a nightmare. Raisel Iglesias is closing out the season strong, though. Way too little, way too late, but he's down below 3.50 ERA. Dylan Lee has been looking a little bit better here over the last few weeks. Pierce Johnson has been able to give you sub 2.50 ERA. And ever since they picked up Tyler Kinley, he's posting up a sub 1 ERA. He was not showing that with the Colorado Rockies, to say the least. And for the Braves, this has been a top 10 offense in terms of run creation ever since the All-Star break. Matt Olson leading the way, 367 on base. He's been able to supply 28 home runs. For Marcell Ozuna, the batting average is only about a 233, but he's been able to give you above a 355 on base. He's up to 21 home runs. Obviously, Ronald Acuna Jr. has been Ronald Acuna Jr. He's given you just below a 400 on base, actually just above a 400 on base, 20 home runs and 325 at bats. He's been able to do a nice job there. And post All-Star break, it's been a little bit up and down for a few of these guys, but Michael Harris, ever since the All-Star break, 13 home runs and he's hitting at 295. So he's been able to provide some good production there. With the Braves at a plus 120 or better, I'm going to be looking at their run line and me my total in 8.2. So at the 8.5, I'm in on the under. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It is the Arizona Diamondbacks on the road against the Slam Diego Padres. Michael King hopes to be the king for the Pods, and Eduardo Rodriguez goes for the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks do find themselves as sizable underdogs here. You're going to be getting them between plus 118 to a plus 120, minus 140 to minus 145. That number on the Pods, and the total on this game is 7.5. Over is minus 115 to minus 120. The under is between even minus 105, and I did set the Padres at a minus 162. I'm going to be willing to lay the money line. It does feel like Michael King is starting to get to be the Michael King that we all know and love, as he just dealt with so many injuries to begin the season. That was less than tremendous, but last start out, he looked much more like himself. 5 scoreless innings against the White Sox, albeit he did have 4 walks. That was a little bit of a concern after his first few starts coming off the injury list. He had given up a combined 10 runs in 8 innings, so that wasn't necessarily amazing. Overall for the season for King, 357 ERA, 443 fielding to pan with allowing 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, but being out there in Petco, that should be able to help him out quite a bit, as much of his struggles have come on the road this far this season. And I mean, when you do pitch in Petco, you get a little bit more forgiveness in terms of those fly balls, as for Mr. King, 258 home ERA with 1 home run allowed per 9 innings when he's been in Petco this far this season. And for Eduardo Rodriguez, he's been pitching a little bit better recently, but it's been a no good, very bad, terrible year for him. 491 ERA. Again, 0-1 runs allowed in 4 of his last 5 starts, but he still has a fielding dependent of a 444. He's allowing 3.6 walks, 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, down to about 8.3 strikeouts per 9. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, they just don't compare with regards to their bullpen to the San Diego Padres. The Padres are number 1 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, likes of David Morgan, Adrian Morejon, Jason Adam, Mason Miller. These guys give you a sub 3.25 ERA. Robert Suarez has been solid in the back half, sometimes blows a few saves, but overall, it's been a very good bullpen, even with having Jeremiah Estrada have his issues. And for the Diamondbacks, they continue to be in the bottom 7 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. And Andrew Selfrank has been great, by the way. He's been able to give you sub 2 ERA. Jalen Beeks is starting to come along for the ride. He and Ryan Thompson hovering in that neighborhood about at 3.75 with regards to their ERA, but likes of a Kyle Bacchus, Juan Murillo, Jake Woodford. You've got a lot of guys posting up above a 4.35 ERA. Now for the Diamondbacks, they continue to be in the top 6 in the big leagues in terms of run creation, even with having Eugenio Suarez along Josh Naylor out of the fold, as Geraldo Perdomo and Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte continue to move the line both above a 3.75 on base. Marte has slowed down with the home run power a little bit recently, but still has at 26 home runs for the season. Blaze Alexander has been able to give you about a 3.22 on base. It's been a little bit up and down at the catcher spot, but Adrian Del Castro has been able to about a 250 in his small sample size. Gabriel Moreno has come back. He's been able to give you about a 350 on base. So that's been solid. And for the San Diego Padres, the one thing that has really been lacking for them is home run power. They've been in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. To Manny Machado, up to 26 bombs. He's supplying about a 330 on base. And Fernando Tatis Jr. is hitting about a 270. He's up to 23 home runs. You've had Gavin Sheets supply the 19 bombs. He's slowed down a little bit, but you do pick up Ramon Laureano along with Ryan O'Hearn at the deadline. Both of these guys, between their time with the Orioles and the San Diego Padres, have been able to give you above a 340 on base. Laureano over 20 home runs. I do think that for the Padres, they're going to have their bullpen just completely overwhelm the Diamondbacks. So I did set my total here at a 7.9. All right, now seeing that total at 7.5, I do think that Eduardo Rodriguez just gives up a little bit too much to be able to keep this under. So do like the over, and I do like the San Diego Padres here on the money line. Set them at a minus 162. 913, 914 on the card. The Orioles are on the road against the New York Yankees. Cam Schlittler is on the bump for the Yankees. Tomoyuki Sugano is on the bump for Baltimore, and Baltimore is an underdog between plus 174 to a plus 188. Minus 215 to minus 233 is that number on the Yankees with a total of 9. The under is minus 120, and the over is even. And I did set my total here at an 8.7. I'm going to be looking at that 9 under. Now, if we get between an 8.5 to a 9, because we're seeing heavy juice on that under of 9, I would rather have the 8.5 over rather than the 9 under. I will say that right now, because Tomoyuki Sugano has not been great, to say the least. And for our good friend and Mr. Sugano, it's been a case where he's just not getting a lot of deception. 6.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. He doesn't hurt himself with only about 2.1 walks per 9 innings, but he allows 1.8 home runs per 9 innings. His 30 home runs allowed, I believe, leads the American League, and he's given up 4+ runs in now 3 out of his last 4 starts, make it 4 out of his last 5 starts. And now you have to face off against a New York Yankees team that they lead all of baseball in terms of runs per game and home runs at a per at-bat basis. As for the Yankees, on any given night, they could throw out their starting lineup of 9 guys that all 9 have at least 19 home runs this year. Now, some of these guys don't necessarily move the line the best. You've got likes of Ryan McMahon, Austin Wells, Anthony Volpe, all hitting below 225, and in the case of Volpe and Wells, below a 280 turns that on base. But Cody Bellinger, he's hitting at 270 with 29 home runs. Trent Grisham is up there, 34 bombs. At least 18 of those have come post All-Star break. Post All-Star break, Giancarlo Stanton has been a man possessed. He's been able to give you a home run every about 11.5 or so at bats this season, and Aaron Judge is Judge, Jury, and Executioner. 455 on base, 51 home runs. For Cam Schlittler, it's been a case where he's been able to get a lot of swing and miss as well. For Schlittler, he's up a little bit over 10 strikeouts per 9 innings this season. He does need to tone it down on the deep ball a little bit. Has been giving up about 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, and he does allow 4 walks per 9 innings as well. So he's got a 3.27 ERA. The fielding independent is hovering more in the neighborhood of about a 3.95, but all in all, should be able to do a good job against an Orioles team that they're averaging fewer than 4 runs per game away from him. They're second worst in the American League in terms of run creation away from home. You do have a trio of guys at the top that have been rock solid: Jordan Westburg, Gunnar Anderson, and Jackson Holliday. All 3 guys between 15 and 17 home runs. Westburg just came off the injured list. And then you do get 16 home runs out of Colton Cowser, but he's sitting below the Mendoza line 200. Tyler O'Neill, Samuel Basallo, they entered in the night hitting below 200. Gotten a little bit more out of Kobe Mayo, but man, it's been a rough season for him. They do get Adley Rushman off the injured list as well. Why he's coming off the injured list for the final series of the season, I don't know. But hey, Dylan Beavers, he's also give you above a 370 on base, but this is also an Orioles bullpen that it's rough to say the least. As they tried out Corbin Martin, I think that they just DFA'd him because he was that bad, but you still have the likes of Ynier Cano along with Grant Wolf from Yarmil Hidalgo. These guys give you above a 4 ERA, though. They've found something with Rico Garcia. He's been solid out of this bullpen. Keegan Aiken, he's been able to give you a sub 375 ERA as well. And for the New York Yankees, since the beginning of the month of July, this has been a bottom 4 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Luke Weaver and Yuri De Los Santos coming off the injured list have not been themselves. Devin Devin Williams, Camilo Udavalla. Both of these guys have above a 5 ERA in a Yankees uniform and a Yankees uniform only. David Benhar has not pooped the Benhar. He's been solid, but the rest of his bullpen has been a little bit rough. So like I said, even though we're seeing a 9 right now, the heavy juice on the under, if we can get to an 8.5, I would rather have an 8.5 over rather than a 9 under, but I did set the Yankees minus 238 on the money line. I'd be willing to go up to a minus 119 on that run line. Right now, I'm seeing it right around even money, so give me that Yankees run line, and if we can get that 8.5, I'm going to be in on the over. 915, 916 on the card. It is the Toronto Blue Jays. Playing goes to the Tampa Bay Rays. Joe Boyle, Boyle rules, goes for the Rays, and you've got Trey Yasevich on the bump for the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are between minus 156 to minus 164 favorites. Between plus 130 to plus 138 is that number on the Rays with a total of 8.5. The unders between minus 110 to a minus 120. The overs between even and minus 110, and I'm willing to go over. I did set my total at an 8.6. Now Yasevich, when he was at the minor league level, was posting up right around 3.12 ERA. Walks have been a little bit of an issue for him, 3.8 walks per 9 innings, but he had 14.7 strikeouts per 9 innings at the minor league level. He's made 2 major league starts, actually shut down the Rays in his first start. He gave up 1 run in 5 innings, a little bit more of a blow-up last time out, so he's won 9 innings. He's given up 5 runs with 11 strikeouts in his first 2 starts. I think that he's going to be solid here. Going up against a Rays team that, even though they're resting a lot of their starters in terms of the starting pitchers, they're still trotting out there the likes of Junior Caminero, Brandon Lau. Lau is up to 31 home runs, hitting about a 260. Caminero, 44 bombs. He's hitting about a 260 as well. Neither of these guys draw a lot of walks, but Yandy Diaz, since the beginning of the month of June, has been one of the best hitters in all of baseball. He's up to 25 home runs, hitting above a 300 overall for the season, and you just get great base stealing. Jake Magnum along with Chandler Simpson. Simpson, 43 stolen bags, hitting at 300. Magnum hitting darn near 300 with 27 stolen bases. The shortstop spot, along with Christopher Morel in the outfield, and the catcher spot has been rough. So, it's been a little bit of top-heavy lineup, but all in all, these guys have been relatively solid. And for O'Boyle rules, he has not ruled on the road. His road ERA is hovering right around about an 8.10, and he's going to give it up between 2.3 to 2.4 home runs per 9 innings away from Tampa Bay. And he's backed up by a bullpen that they're probably going to look to a lot, because we noticed with Ryan Pepiot along with Shane Baz, both of these guys got removed before they even reached 60 pitches. So I don't think that we're going to be seeing a lot of Joe Boyle in this game. You do have the likes of Eric Orze, Pete Fairbanks, Garrett Clevenger. I'll give you a sub 3.35 ERA, but the fear is you're going to get some of these guys that are a little bit less than trustworthy, like your Griffin Jacksons, Brian Bakers of the world. Maybe you throw out there some like Pogger, VC. They've got a lot of young guys that they're just looking to throw out there and see what they've got. So, it's been a little bit of experimentation there. And for the Toronto Blue Jays, this has been a bullpen that has been in the bottom half of the big leagues ever since the All-Star break, even though you have guys that have been able to supply a sub 3.25 ERA for the season, like Braden Fisher or Brandon Little, along with Uriel Rodriguez. They have not been the same here in the second half of the season, and Jeff Hoffman has just not been great, to say the least. But what has been great, the Blue Jays and their lineup, they have been number 1 in the American League in terms of run creation ever since the All-Star break. Headlined by George Springer, gave you 31 bombs and a 390 on base. Vlad Jr., you expect a little bit more than 23 home runs, but he's still giving you darn near 300 batting average. Bo Bichette, 18 bombs, he's been able to above a 300. Alejandro Kirk, don't call his name. He and Thomas Heineman at the catcher spot, they've been able to hit above a 280. So you've got a lot of production there. They pick up Isaiah Kiner-Falefa to be able to move line a little bit as well. Dalton Varsho, 20 home runs and 235 at-bats, and I do think that for the Blue Jays, they get to Boyle and what is going to be a lot of the bullpen here. I was willing to take a plus 120 or better with regards to this Blue Jays run line. Right now, I'm seeing that at a plus 138. Sign me up on that run line and the over as I set my total at an 8.6. 917, 918 on the card. The Detroit Tigers are on the road against the Boston Red Sox. Connolly early goes for the Red Sox. Right now, it is old to be determined on the bump for the Detroit Tigers. So this is a game that is off the board. Right now, the projections are showing that Chris Paddock should be getting the start here. Now, this could be a little bit of like a piecemeal game for the Detroit Tigers. I think that Paddock is going to be figuring in some form or capacity, but he might only be giving you like 3 or so innings. And if you do get like a piecemeal game with Paddock being a bulk guy, maybe he does actually start this game. I set the Red Sox at a minus 143 on the money line, willing to go up to a minus 142 there, plus 144 or better. Looking at the Tigre days, and then set a total of a 9.1, so 9 or less. Looking at the over 9.5 or higher, the under. We'll go with the guy that we know is going to be starting first. That'd be Connolly early, a guy that really was able to rise in the minor league ranks this season for the Boston Red Sox. And since he got his call up to the big league level, rock solid. It's a small sample size of 3 starts. Acted up a little bit more in his last start, but in 14 and a third innings, he's got 22 strikeouts, 3 walks, and no home runs allowed. He has been absolutely amazing. Does have to go up against a Detroit Tigers lineup that you have to give credit where it is due. There's a lot of consistency here. On any given night, 7 out of their 9 guys might be hitting for at least a 250, and most of these guys give you you about 11 to 14 home runs. Javi Baez, Wencio Perez, Gleyber Torres. Like, you've got a lot of solid players. Jahmai Jones, not necessarily giving you a lot of deep ball, but he's been able to hit about a 270 thus far this season. Then Riley Green has been able to supply 36 home runs. He's hitting at 260. Spencer Torkelson, 330 on base. He's up to 31 home runs. Do love what Kerry Carpenter has supplied for this team, but I mean, he's been a little bit in and out of the lineup, and Colt Keithline's on the injured list, so that does hurt them. And for the Red Sox, this is a lineup that has just a lot of consistency in general with it. Now you're getting back Wilder Abreu. He and Trevor Story have been your main managers, with Story 25 home runs. Abreu, he's been able to supply 22, but I mean, these two guys, along with someone like a Jaron Duran hitting in the neighborhood about a 250 to 267, has been rock solid. Rami Gonzalez is now hitting above a 300. Masataka Yoshida has really helped out his average over the last few days as well. And Nathaniel Lowe has not hit for a lot of home runs since coming to Boston. Only 2 home runs in about 100 at-bats, but he's been hitting above a 260 as well. And where the Red Sox really ascend is in this bullpen. They have been a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Aroldis Chapman has been able to supply about a 125 ERA. He's getting 13 strikeouts per 9 innings. He has been the best relief pitcher in all of baseball this year, and I don't think that that's much of a debate. But as said, you've got the likes of Greg Weissert, Steven Matz, Garrett Whitlock. These guys who will be able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Justin Wilson is acting up a little bit, but still at a 3.35 ERA. That's been nice. And for the Detroit Tigers, it's going to be a little bit more mix and match, because if you do get Chris Paddock, he's been giving you fewer than 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, has had his struggles with the Detroit Tigers, has had his struggles with the Minnesota Twins as well. So, I mean, you just don't know what you're going to be able to get there. Now, the likes of Bailey Horn, along with Brendan Hennefy, Brant Herter, these guys have been able to give you a sub-325 ERA. So, I do think that in some form or capacity you get Paddock, but I mean, it's going to be a lot of mix and match there. And then you've had the likes of Tommy Kahnle not necessarily be so great as well. And the Tigers, they have to sell it in order to make the playoffs. Like, this was a foregone conclusion that they were going to be in the postseason. Not so much anymore, and I do think that they should be a sizable underdog. With the Red Sox, I'm willing to lay up to a minus 142 with regards to their money line, plus 144 or better. I'm going to be looking at the Tigre days, and then I did set a total to wear a 9 or less. I'm in on the over 9.5 or the under. 919, 920 on the betting board. They did me no favors on this one. The Walker Texas Rangers hit the road. They're facing off against Cleveland Guardians. Right now, it's to be determined on the bump for the Cleveland Guardians, and it's to be determined on the bump for the Texas Rangers. So they really wanted to make my job, I guess you could call it, nice and fun here, but the projections are showing that we should get Merrill Kelly going up against Joey Cantillo, and if we do get Cantillo going up against Merrill Kelly, I did set the Guardians on the money line at a minus 134, so a minus 133 or less, looking at Cleveland plus 135 or better, looking at the Rangers, and then set a total of a 7.4, a 7 or less, I'm in on the over 7.5 or higher to the under. Now, the big question mark here is Merrill Kelly, because I'm pretty sure that we should be getting Cantillo in this one. If you do get Kelly, he's been very rock solid this season for the Texas Rangers. Now, while he's been with Texas, he's given up the deep ball a little bit more than he did with the Arizona Diamondbacks, but all in all, 3.52 ERA, fielding a pen of a 3.77, 8.2 strikeouts, 1.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's been stable. If you don't get Merrill Kelly, this probably goes to being like a minus 170, minus 175 line, because for the Rangers, they're going to be throwing out there someone highly unreliable. Heck, this might even go to a minus 180, and then at that point, it's 7.5 or less. I'm going to be looking at the over and 8 or higher to the under. That despite the fact that the Rangers have been a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Like, the mix and match guys in this bullpen have been solid. Like, if you do get Jacob Latz, it's probably somewhere in the middle. It's probably more like a minus 150, minus 155, because I actually think that Jacob Latz deserves to be a starter in this rotation. He has been very rock solid with a sub 350 ERA. And then out of the bullpen, you've been able to have the likes of Chris Martin, Jacob Webb, Robert Garcia, throw in there as well, Cole Winn, be able to give you a sub 325 ERA. So, I mean, the bullpen itself for the Rangers is solid, but now they've got a mismatched lineup with Wyatt Langford and Corey Seager being out. You've got the Joshes, Josh Young, Josh Smith, both hitting about a 250 for this unit, and Jake Berger, since coming off the injury list, hitting above a 300, but now the rest of the season is lost for this team. They're looking to throw out there some of the younger guys, like, don't call his name, Alejandro Osuna, who's been able to give you 1 home run and a 210 batting average. That's not great, and Michael Holman had a nice run where he had like 3 home runs in the span of 5 games a few weeks ago. He's been a little bit inconsistent, but you have a little bit of upside there, but the likes of Jack Peterson and company just have not supplied a lot of offense for the Rangers, albeit it's a Rangers team that's averaging about 4.7 runs per game since the beginning of the month of July, but now they're just completely gutted. And for the Cleveland Guardians, the name of the game for them has been pitching, with Joey Cantillo really being able to flourish for this team. Now, Cantillo does still have a little bit of a walks issue. For Cantillo, he has overall for the season been able to just mow them down with about 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up 4.2 walks per 9, but He's been able to do a bit of a better job of that recently. A combined 6 walks over the course of his last 4 starts, giving up over the course of his last 5 starts a combined 4 runs. Like, he's really just come into his own. 3.21 ERA, 3.62 fielding dependent, and for Cantillo, he's backed up by a bullpen that does rank at the top 5 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. I mean, it's been a case of no Emmanuel Clase, no problem. Even with Nick Enright hitting the injury list, you've got the likes of Kobe Allard as a long guy, along with Eric Zabrowski, Jacob Junis, who have all now been able to supply you with a sub-275 ERA. Hunter Gaddis and Cade Smith have been a little bit up and down, but they're pitching their best right now. They're at a sub-320 ERA for the season. The big thing for the Guardians is that they're a bottom 3 offense in the big leagues in terms of run creation at home, with it being a very top-heavy lineup. Kyle Manzardo not hitting for a ton of average at 232, but 26 home runs. Jose Ramirez has been the do-it-all guy. 40 stolen bags, 30 home runs, 360 on base, and then Steven Kwan, he's been able to supply the team with about a 275 average. But then you just have the bottom of the lineup that has not necessarily been doing a ton for you, as you got the likes of Bo Naylor, Daniel Sheeman, Nolan Jones, David Fry, who unfortunately got hit in the face with a baseball a few days ago, Austin Hedges, all these guys who are posting up a 215 batting average or lower, so that's been hurting them. But George Valera, in a very small sample size, he's got like 2 home runs over the last week, so that's been helping out the team a little bit as well. So if you do get Cantillo going against the Rangers, with it being Merrill Kelly, minus 133 or better, looking at the Guardians. If it's not Merrill Kelly, if it's Jacob Latz, more like a minus 150. Anyone other than Latz and Kelly, more like a minus 180 with the Guardians on the money line. And then with it being Kelly versus Cantillo, 7 or less in on the over, 7.5 or higher the under. If it's Latz and or anyone else, 7.5 or less, looking at the over, 8 or higher the under. 921, 922 on the card. The Astros are on the road. They're facing off against the LA Angels. Caden Donna is on the bump for the Angels, and right now it's undecided on the bump for Houston. This is a game that's presently off the board. When I was looking at the projections, they were projecting AJ Blubaugh getting the start for the Astros, and I set the Astros with Blubaugh to the minus 168 on the money line, minus 167 or better. Looking at the Astros, plus 169 or better. Looking at the Angels, instead of total 9.2, 9 or less. Looking at the over 9.5 or higher, the under. If it is Blubaugh, that's essentially code for a bullpen game, which Blubaugh is going to be a little bit of a bulk guy. We do not know if he pitched at the time of this recording on Friday or not, but the last time he went was on the 21st against the Seattle Mariners. He's been utilized quite a bit in like a 3 3.3 inning sort of role, and I fully expect that to be the case in this one for Blubaugh. 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings in 28 innings. I mean, it's been a small sample size, but he's posting up sub 2 ERA. He has given up the 6 home runs in 28 innings, and he's only given up 6 earned runs with 6 home runs allowed. So puzzle me that. He's been very fortunate there, and that ERA should be going up a little bit, but now he faces off against an LA Angels team that just can't move the line and get on base. They're in the bottom 4 in the big leagues in terms of their on-base percentage, so that's obviously a big giant issue for this team. As for the Angels, you do have Joe Adell setting fire to the rain with 37 home runs, but he's setting fire to his on-base percentage as well at a 296. Taylor Ward, he's been able to give you about a 315 on base. He's up to 36 home runs. Mike Trout has been in and out of the lineup, 23 home runs. He's hitting just a 228 this season, though. The on-base percentage, that has been a little bit better at about a 355. You've had just up-down, all-around sort of production out of some of these guys like Christian Moore. You've got Bryce Tessuto. A lot of guys are just hitting below a 215 for the team. They're trotting out their Chris Taylor for at-bats. He's completely washed up. And for the LA Angels, this is just a not great bullpen, to say the least. They're in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA. You've been able to have Brock and Roll Burke along Kenley Jansen be able to supply you with an ERA below a 350, but then you get into the likes of Jose Fermin, Connor Brogdon, Carson Fulmer, Ryan Zephyrion. Man, a lot of guys are posting up an ERA above a 450. And for the Astros, the one thing that they still have going for them, even with having Josh Hader and also Bennett Sosa on the injury list, is that you've got the Brian King, Brian Abreu, Stephen Okert, who've been able to give you a sub-350 ERA in this bullpen. And for the Astros, the main issue for them has been their offense. Ever since the All-Star break, they've been in the bottom 6 of the big leagues in terms of total runs per game. But you do have Jose Altuve supplying 26 home runs. He's sitting at 265, and you've got pop out of Yanier Diaz and Christian Walker. Diaz is up to 19 home runs, Walker 24 home runs, and Diaz is even hitting a 253, but 22 on base. He doesn't draw any walks whatsoever. Walker, a 236 average, which isn't great, but not awful. 296 on base, so need a little bit more there. They are getting Isak Paredes back, 355 on base, 20 home runs out of him. Jake Myers overall for the season hitting about a 290, but Not a loss being drawn here, but they do get to go up against Caden Donna, and Caden Donna is a guy that you really don't want to be betting on. This guy is not set for the big league level. A young 21-year-old who, I'm not going to judge his upside quite yet. I think that he could be a guy that develops, but they have just thrown him out there to the Wolves too soon. His last start against the Rockies was actually not too bad. 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, but in his 6 total appearances this year, he has a 6.39 ERA and a 6.14 fielding dependent. He's giving up 6 walks and 2 home runs per 9 innings. Swing and miss stuff is good, 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, but if you're giving up 6 walks and 2 home runs per 9 innings, not going to be successful in this league. So 9 or less, looking at the over 9.5, or the under with the Astros minus 167 or better, whether that be blue ball or a bullpen game. Looking at the Astros, I'd be willing to lay about a minus 110 with regards to this run line as well, and then a plus 169 or better, I'd be looking at the LA Angels. 923, 924 on the betting board. It is the Royals, and they are going to be on the road facing off against the old Sacramento A's as Luis Morales is on the bump for the Athletics, and Mr. Michael Wacha, and if he has another bad performance, it's the dying Pac-Man voice once again of Michael Wacha. Going for the Royals, 10 is the total, over and under, both at minus 110, minus 118 to minus 123. That number on the Athletics, even money to plus 105 on the Kansas City Royals, and I set the Athletics at a minus 128. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them on the money line. Now, if you look at the advanced numbers for Luis Morales, probably doing for a little bit of regression on his ERA. ERA is hovering in that neighborhood of about a 3.07 fielding dependent, more around about a 4.94. His numbers are a little bit warped by the fact that in his first start against the Baltimore Orioles, he went 2 2/3 innings. He gave up 5 walks. Ever since then, in his last 7 appearances, 2 walks or fewer allowed in every one of them. He is giving up a home run and a half per 9 innings, and Sacramento is a very tough ballpark to tame. But you want to talk about a guy that's coming in a bad form, that would be Michael Wacha. 3+ runs allowed in 4 of his last 5 starts, and in his last 2 starts, a combined 13 runs allowed in 7 2/3 innings. That's not great. Both of those starts came at home, so he's now rocking a 4 ERA. Fielding independent, though, is more around about a 3.69, giving up 0.8 home runs, 2.3 walks per 9 innings, and while the Athletics have some really good firepower at the top of their lineup, it is a little bit of a top-heavy lineup, as some of the guys towards the bottom of it, like Darrell Hernandez, J.J. Bleday, throw in there as well. Someone like a Kobe Thomas. These guys, at 235 or lower, have been a little bit of an issue for the team, but you've got a quartet of guys with at least 25 home runs, all hitting at least a 263. Brent Rooker, Nick Kurtz, Shea Langelares, along with Tyler Soderstrom, and for Kurtz, 35 bombs and nearly a 380 on base. Jacob Wilson doesn't draw a lot of walks, but he's hitting above a 300 as well, so very rock solid there. And for the Royals, this continues to be a bottom team in the big leagues in terms of run creation. You do have Salvador Perez giving you 30 home runs, 100 RBI, but still less than a 290 on base. Vinny Pasquantino, 32 bombs. He's been very rock solid this year, and you've been able to get a little bit of production recently out of Carter Jensen. The young gun has been able to like a 280. He's got a pair of home runs at a very small sample size. Mikey Stremski at the leadoff spot is giving you 4 home runs at the leadoff spot, but not hitting for a lot of average, as again, he, along with Jack Hagley, Nick Rave, Michael Massey, a lot of guys sitting at 230 or lower for the team, but Bobby Witt Jr., 37 stolen bags, 350 on base, 23 home runs. He's been rock solid, as is this Royals bullpen. Royals are a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. They are dealing with the injury to Lucas Erceg, but Carlos Aceves, along Daniel Lynch, would be able to supply a sub-325 ERA. Steven Cruz is starting to act up a little bit. He and John Schreiber right around about a 350 to a 375 in terms of their bullpen ERA, so that's been a little bit of an issue. And for the Athletics, this entire bullpen has been just not great, to say the least. You've been able to get some relatively good innings out of Brady Boss, so it's a small sample size, but he's been able to give you a sub-325 ERA. Michael Kelly has been solid, but then you've got likes of a Hogan Harris, Osvaldo Bido, throw in there as well. Even Elvis Alvarado, these guys give you above a 340 ERA. They just have not been able to hold up in this bullpen. But that said, I do think that Luis Morales gives you a good start here. Willing to lay up to minus 127 with the Athletics on the money line. And maybe my total 9.3. So here at the 10, I'm going to be in on the under. 925, 926 on the card. The White Sox are on the road. They're facing off against the Washington Nationals. Jake Irvin is on the bump for the Nats, and Sean Burke is on the bump for the White Sox. And the White Sox, who find themselves as very slim underdogs, even money to plus 105, minus 119 to minus 122 is that number on Washington. E&F is the total. Over is minus 120 to minus 125. Under is between even and plus 105, and made my total 9.2. Even if this goes to a 9, I'm going to be in on this total over. For Sean Burke, I do believe that he's doing for quite a bit of regression. As you take a look at the overall ERA for Sean Burke, it's not bad. He gets some swings and misses. He's not like a strikeout artist, but he's up to about 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. But 1.5 home runs, 4.3 walks allowed per 9 innings, 4.29 ERA, but a 5.02 fielding dependent. Somehow, some way, has given up 300 runs or fewer in each out of his last 6 starts. And for Jake Irvin, it's been a no good, very bad, terrible year for him. With Irvin, 5.69 ERA, that is not very nice, and he's been giving up 1.9 home runs and 3.2 walks per 9 innings while getting 6 strikeouts per 9 innings. So he's got a 5.63 fielding dependent. It's not even like this guy is getting unlucky. He now faces off against the White Sox team that they've actually been a top 10 offense in terms of run creation ever since the All-Star break. Lennon Sosa has been able to step up for this team, 21 home runs. He's hitting at 260, and a team that struck out a lot towards beginning part of the season, not doing so anymore now. Andrew Benintendi, Mike Tauchman are on the injured list. That's going to hurt them. So now they're trotting out there some of these mix and match guys like, Will Robertson in the starting lineup yesterday. That's not great, but Edgar Quiero, Kyle Teal at the catcher spot, both hitting above a 270. You've had Colson Montgomery be able to supply 18 home runs, albeit not a lot of on base, but it is a lineup that's much better than they were towards the beginning part of the season. And for the Nationals, very strangely, they're averaging less than 4 runs per game at home and more like 4.6 runs per game away from them. Like CJ Abrams, he's hitting for about a 260 with 18 home runs. Only 3 of those home runs have come at home, and the young guys have not been able to step up for this team. Likes of Andres Shapiro, Dylan Cruz, Robert Hassel, Brady House. I'll give you a sub 290 on base. You just need to get a little bit more there. Now, Dallin Lyle has been very rock solid. He's might hit for a 300 when it's all said and done. And Josh Bell, since the beginning of the month of July, hitting above 260s up to 20 plus home runs this season. Paul DeYoung in his small sample size, not give you a lot of on base, but he's been able to supply a little bit of boom as well. And for the Chicago White Sox, this is a bullpen that has their issues. Mike Vasil has been a nice long guy, but you only use him once every few days because he goes for typically 3+ innings. They're dealing with the injury to Elvis Figueroa, so that's not great. Jerome Leisure down to about a 3.50 ERA, but Grant Taylor, Brandon Iser, Cam Boozer, you've got a lot of guys with an ERA above a 4. And want to talk about bad bullpens, the Washington Nationals, dead last in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Shinkuski, Ogasara, Sauron Lau, Jackson Rutledge, a lot of guys that are posting up an ERA that is well above a 5. And with regards to this one, I do think that the Nationals should be a bit of a favorite with regression coming for Sean Burke. I'm willing to lay up to a -118 with the Nationals on the money line. Made my total 9.2, so I'm also in on the over. 927, 928 on the card. The Minnesota Twins hit the road. They're facing off against the Philadelphia Phillies. Ranger Suarez is on the bump for the Phils, and Mick Abel is on the bump for Minnesota. 8.5 is the total. Over it's -110 to a -120. Unders between even a -110. Between -205 to a -210 is that number on the Phillies. Anywhere between +168 to a +175. That number on Minnesota if you're looking to lay a run half with the Phils. Right now you're finding that run line at a +105, and I was willing to go up to a -117, so sign me up there. Ranger Suarez had a little bit of a rough go of it last time out, and Ranger Suarez, very interestingly, has been worse at home rather than on the road. Overall for the season, 3.12 ERA, 3.10 fielding dependent, 8.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's only giving up like 0.8 home runs and 2.2 walks per 9 innings, so he's been able to do a nice job there. But that said, when it comes to Ranger Suarez, for some reason, when he's out there in Philadelphia, he does just give up a little bit more hard contact in general at home this season. 3.39 ERA compared to a 2.84 ERA on the road, and he goes up against a guy, Mick Abel, that began his season with the Philadelphia Phillies, so good, clean, family fun year. And, well, since he got to Minnesota, it's not been great. He has made 3 appearances in 8 innings. He's given up 14 runs, 13 of which have been earned. Not good. Not good at all. He has also given up 6 walks in those 8 innings. It's a small sample size, but if you combine his looks with the Philadelphia Phillies along with his time with the Minnesota Twins, 7.36 ERA with a 5.93 fielding dependent, giving up 2.2 home runs per 9 innings. And now he faces off against a lineup that they know all too well of what he pitches, as you got Kyle Schwarber give you Schwarber bombs, 53 home runs, 370 on base. Harrison Bader has been hitting above a 300 since he got to Philadelphia. Bryce Harper, he's up to 27 home runs. He's giving you about a 355 on base. Brandon Marsh is moving the line. He's giving you 345 on base. Even without Trey Turner, this has been a lineup that has been very rock solid in terms of creating runs. They're averaging about 5.5 runs per game at home. That's number 2 in all of baseball. And for the Twins, they still have boppers in the lineup, even with Matt Wilner being on the injured list, but they don't have a lot of batting averages. Lucas Shield, who was sitting at 300, he landed on the injured list, so now you've got the likes of James Outman, Christian Vasquez, Eduardo Julian, a lot of guys hitting 225 or lower. Cody Clemens, another one of those guys. Clemens, 19 home runs, but hitting for about a 215 with a 285 on base. Byron Buxton, 330 on base, 30-plus home runs. He's been rock solid. And Trevor Larnach has just been able to give you 15-plus home runs. He's hitting at 250. Ryan Jeffers is up to a 260, but this is also a brutal Minnesota Twins bullpen. They traded away all their good bullpen pieces at the deadline. Genesis Cabrera, Michael Tonkin, Cody Funderburk, Thomas Hatch, Travis Adams. These are the guys that are relying upon now. Everyone other than Funderburk has above a 3.75 ERA, and Funderburk is at like a 3.60. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, even though Jose Alvarado turned out to be a flop coming off of suspension, you've had the likes of Orion Kerkering, David Robertson, Matt Strom, Yohan Duran, a lot of guys be very rock solid in this bullpen. Everyone other than Robertson give you a sub 3.35 ERA. Tanner Banks has been pretty rock solid as well. So I do think that the Phillies should be able to take it to the Twins here. One to lay up to a minus 115 on their run line. Do like the over as well. So I might total at an 8.8. And we wrap things up with 9:29, 9:30 on the card. The Dodgers hit the road. They're facing off against the Seattle Mariners as Logan Gilbert goes for Seattle. Tyler Glasnow is on the bump for the Dodgers. Gilbert was not confirmed until the nighttime, so this game is off the board, but I've got my handicap. I did set the Dodgers at a minus 125 on the money line, willing to go up to a minus 124 there, plus 126 or better in on Seattle, and set a total of 7.2. 7 or less, I'm in on the over, 7.5 for higher. The under. As for Gilbert, he has been an absolute strikeout artist, and he's one of those guys that has some very massive home and road splits. For Gilbert thus far this season, 3.43 ERA with closer to a 3.32 field independent, has given up 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, but just a hair over 2 walks per 9 innings with 12 strikeouts per 9 innings. But you look at what he's been able to do in Seattle thus far this season, 2.13 ERA, giving up about 1 home run per 9 innings. On the road, that goes to about 1.6 home runs per 9 innings with a 4.74 ERA. And for Tyler Glasnow, even though he's really been able to hold down the fort ever since he's come off the injured list, the walks are still a big time issue with him. 3.30 ERA, but a 3.82 field independent, giving up 4.3 walks per 9 innings, and he has allowed 4+ walks in now 3 out of his last 5 starts, so that is a little bit of a concern. Obviously, you get some good swing and miss, but he's also backed up by a bullpen that has been shaky, even with Tanner Scott coming off the injured list, along Kirby Yates. They had Michael Kopech go back on the injured list. Both of those guys above a 4 ERA. Blake Trinan has not been right all season long. It's actually been Jack Dreher and Alex Vesia providing a sub 3.35 ERA, who have been some of your main guys that have been able to come through for this bullpen. Edgar Enriquez has been relatively solid as well. And for the Seattle Mariners, you've got the likes of Andres Munoz, Gabe Spire, Edward Bizardo, Matt Brash, who have been able to give you a sub 3.35 ERA. Now, for the LA Dodgers, this team can just flat out slug their way to victory. They're a top 3 team in terms of just offensive firepower. You've been able to have an amazing season from Shohei Ohtani, above a 380 on base, 54 home runs, and Andy Paz, low-key, 275 average, 27 home runs. He's been rock solid. They have a deal with Will Smith getting jiggy with it on the injured list, but second half of the season, Mookie Betts has been much better as well. Betts hitting above a 270 ever since the All-Star break. You've got Hyun Kim, who doesn't provide a lot of power, but he just is moving the line, hitting about a 280, so that's been pretty solid for this unit. And then for the Seattle Mariners, even though Eugenio Suarez is hitting below 200 in a Mariners uniform, 49 home runs this season. Big dumper Cal Raleigh, 60 bombs this season. He's been able to provide a 350 on base, and even though the Mariners have a rap of being an all-or-nothing team, as you've got like Julio Rodriguez up to 32 home runs, Randy Arozarena 27 home runs, Oye Polanco 24 home runs, these guys are moving the line. Arozarena above a 330 on base. You've got Rodriguez hitting for about a 270. You've had above a 250 average out of Oye Polanco. Dom Canzone is hitting darn near a 300. JP Crawford about a 350 on base as well. So very interesting circumstance. I do think that both of these pitchers go out there and give a good performance, where in Seattle it's about as pitcher friendly as it gets, and now in the month of September it's really hard to be able to have those balls fly out there. So I did set the Dodgers to where I'm willing to lay up to a minus 124 with them, plus 126 or better looking at Seattle, and then I set a total of a 7 or less to the over, 7.5 for higher, the under, and that'll wrap things up for the Saturday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. Big thanks to Curtis Rogers. He does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review, and I am with you guys every single day throughout the regular season, all the way into the postseason, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.